Continuing now with halachot of Seudat Shabbat. This is actually today's halacha is going to be more about halachot brachot. I know Roy has an amazing class afterwards, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a few things about the Seuda of Shabbat morning meal that ties hand in hand with halachot of berachot. For example, if someone eats less than a kezait of bread, so we've explained yesterday, ideally you want to have a kibetza, around 55 cubic centimeters of bread, let's say. If you have less than that, you have up to a kezait, half of that, which is 27, you're okay, you fulfill your obligation of a seuda. If you have less than 27 grams of water, of cubic centimeters of bread, what happens? In that scenario, the halacha says that you have to then make shakol and mezonot on all the foods you're going to eat during the meal. Because less than a kezait of bread isn't poter, does not cover the food that comes afterward in the meal. It's a very unique halacha. The way to avoid this problem on Shabbat is just eat enough bread and you won't have this problem on Shabbat. Next is, what about Netilat Yadayim, washing your hands before eating your Seuda, if you're planning to have less than a kibetza of bread. So again, a kibetza is around 55 cubic centimeters of bread. Half of that is a kezait, according to the Tosfot, would be a kezait. If I want to eat less than 55 grams, let's say, of bread, do I make Netilat Yadayim? So the Halakha explains that you wash your hands, but you don't make a bracha. You only make Netilat Yadayim beracha if you're intending to have a kibetza of bread. It's not that much. It's 55 cubic centimeters. It's nothing really, but you have to intend to have a substantial amount of bread in order to get the Netilat Yadayim beracha beforehand. If you're only going to have between a kezait and a kibetza, halacha, not just Shabbat, weekday also, you wash without a beracha. Now, last for today, what about sweet challah and or cakes? This is a big discussion. Baruch Hashem, in our generation, the women are really, really righteous and they're tzadkaniyot, and they love making chalot. They like to bake challah on Fridays. It's a beautiful thing. They should continue doing so. Now, very often they get their recipes from online, from different Ashkenazim who have different halacha than us per se. For us Sfaradim, just to keep it very simple and short, sweet challah, meaning what defines it as sweet? If the dough was kneaded with sugar and other additives that make it sweet, and when you eat, after you bake it and you eat it, you taste the sweetness, halacha, according to the Shulchan Aruch and the Sephardi poskim, is that you have to make mezonot on such a challah. Why? Because the sweetness takes it away from bread and makes it more like a dessert, like a cake. So the same way you make a mezonot and other sweet things, this bread, even though it's called challah, would also get the bracha of mezonot ala michya. And therefore, you wouldn't fulfill your obligation of hamotzi, of your seuda, if you eat something sweet, unless you eat a lot. You have to have 216 grams or cubic centimeters. They're interchangeable, so weight, it's measured in volume of that mezonot, and then you can make hamotzi on such a bread. So this is an important halacha for us Sfaradim to know. Again, not to call shalom bayit issues. Rabbi Chaim brings a lot of leniencies of the Rav Moshe Feinstein of how you can be koveh seuda. If you eat this much amount, even if it's sweet, it might be okay. But ideally, if we're in a perfect world, we want a bread that we make hamotzi on always, Shabbat and during the week, to be without any added sugar or even eggs for that matter, to be just no sweetness involved, so you can make hamotzi on it and then birkat hamazon and fulfill your obligation of seuda, of having a meal on Shabbat. Have a wonderful day and Shabbat Shalom.